is defeating malaria together. And we are talking about this because today is the day we are commemorating the 2024 World Malaria Day. You know, in this part of the world, malaria seems to be one of the illnesses that is ravaging a whole lot of people. It affects the old, the young one, the elderly, everyone in the society. And it's important that we talk about it and know the symptoms, and then the government's effort, what they have done so far to see that we eliminate malaria completely from our society. So this morning, we have some guests with us in the studio who will be helping us talk about this ailment, what has been done so far, why is it even important that we have a day set aside for malaria, to talk about it, to create awareness, what are the mode of, transmission and all that. These and many more we have for you this morning on the program. Good morning, Anambra. And our guests this morning are Nonso Adibe. Nonso Adibe is Anambra State Malaria Control Officer. Okay, Nonso Adibe. Ndibe. Oh, sorry. Ndibe, sorry. Nonso Ndibe. You're welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you, viewers.
We also have Joseph Ugochukwu Obidigwe. He is a parasitologist and entomologist. He is also the branch communication officer, Nigeria Red Cross Society, Anambra State Branch. Glad to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
All right. When I was growing up, even up till now, whenever you have fever, you have headache, the next thing is malaria, and I'm suffering from malaria and all that. And we keep going to probably the hospital or the clinic to get one drugs or the other, anti-malaria tablets. That is everywhere now. But I would want us to start with why this day was actually brought out to commemorate, to create awareness on malaria itself as an ailment. We have other ailments. I know we have World Cancer Day and all that, but then why malaria? And why did we bring out this day to commemorate it? Let's start with you now. So,
thank you, actually, this World Malaria Day is a world event. Like as I'm speaking right now, it's being celebrated all over the world. So it was actually an initiative brought up by let me start with the United Nations, and then other United Nations, the World Health Organization. So it was actually a declaration that was made in the year 2000, and countries came together and declared and chose this date as the date that they commemorate or remember this deadly disease. And actually, there was a reason for that. They didn't just wake up, to fix the date for the remembrance. Remember that every year, even up to now, every year, we have hundreds of millions of malaria cases all over the world. This year, for instance, or let me say, as at the last report we had, World Malaria report we had over 241 million cases all over the world. And most of these cases are seen in sub-Saharan Africa, of which Nigeria is one of them. And not just the cases, we also have deaths, a lot of deaths from malaria. Children under 5 being killed, women, pregnant women being killed, even normal people that are not under these categories being killed. So, because of the large mortality associated with malaria every year, the United Nations came together and said that something has to be done about this to roll back this disease. That's how the Roll Back Malaria initiative, came about.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Before we go proper into how this day is being celebrated, I want us to talk about malaria itself. That how can someone, get this ailment called malaria, the mode of transmission?
Okay. Thank you very much. Malaria is simply transferred by the bite of a female Anopheles, infected female Anopheles mosquito. So every time, it's as simple as that. Every time you are bitten by an affected or infected rather Anopheles mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito, it is female because it is only the female that feed on blood. The male mosquitoes don't, they feed on nectars. So every time you are being bitten by an infected Anopheles mosquito, you get malaria.
Okay, it's just
plasmodium to you, and then before you know it, the signs begins to grow and you say you are sick.
Okay. So what are the signs we are supposed to look out for, the signs and symptoms of this malaria? Because I know we have a whole lot, and this day it presents itself in kind of funny ways. You might just have cough, and the next thing you go for test, they tell you that you have malaria. So it's not like those days when it comes with fever, headache, and dizziness and all that. But this day, I don't know how it presents itself. So is it that things have changed, or that the Anopheles female mosquito, they have re-equipped themselves, that it comes with different kind of symptoms these days?
Well, when you're talking about the signs and symptoms, people's body system can differ.
Okay.
And of course, we don't want to talk about the fact that, just like you said, is it that they've changed? This plasmodium that is really responsible for causing malaria, it has over time developed certain resistance. But when it comes to the signs people feel, it's a result of the fact that we all have different body systems, and every day things are changing. So if you are down with malaria, there are things that there's a way your body reacts to it. Everybody have a way their body reacts to it. There are some people, just like you said, that whenever they feel headache, this severe headache, they just know that if they go for malaria test, it's obviously going to be present. For some people, it comes with shivering, different type of sign, but it's just about the body system. It's about individual body systems.
All right. Okay, so every year the United Nations, they come out with a slogan or theme for the year, and this year's theme is saying accelerating the fight against malaria for a more equitable world. Well, I know we are talking about how to eliminate malaria. I know it might not be done just in 1 year, 2 years. It's a gradual process. So with this theme, accelerating the fight against malaria for a more equitable world, how are we going to, use this particular theme in our fight against malaria?
Thank you. This year's theme is actually a carryover from last year, accelerating the fight against malaria. But this time around, we're talking about having an equitable impact, because why we say that is that, there's this research, that pointed out something, that malaria is a disease of the poor, because if we go through the last surveys that we've done over the years, you notice that when you are looking at the percentile, maybe the well percentile, where you start going from the richest to the poorest, usually when you start coming down the ladder, the incidence tends to increase. There are many reasons for that. So what the WHO is trying to say is that there should be equity in the fight. Again, the disease, like I said, actually there's some parts of the world that don't have a single case of malaria right now. Mostly if you go to North America, Europe, and close to about 90% of the cases, like I mentioned, and even the deaths. Last year we had over 600,000 deaths worldwide. About 90% of those cases and deaths occur in sub-Saharan Africa. And when you come to sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria has about 25% of that burden, both the deaths and the cases. So, we always talk about equity, gender, equity and all that, even equity in terms of, people, the geographic. So what the world trying to say is that everybody needs to come together and make this equitable. Let the funding be equitable. Everything, let the common man, let the fight, let the effect get to even the poorest person, in the poorest village, in the most remote location, in the most farthest part of the world. Let this intervention reach everybody. That's how the equity came about. Let it not be some particular people or some particular areas of the world. Let it get to every nook and cranny of the world. Thank you.
All right, Joseph, let's talk about some of the government's intervention, because we are talking about making it equitable. So we already have government intervention, even international community intervening and seeing how we curb it. Most times you see some government sharing incentive, nets and all that. So I want to know, we still have a huge number of people dying or suffering malaria every year. Does it mean that this initiative, it doesn't have any impact on the people, or it's not even getting to the right people, the people that are suffering the ailment already?
Well, It's not about the problem is not the initiative.
Okay.
Because obviously, like we said the first time, for you to get malaria, you must be bitten by a female Anopheles mosquito. But if you do a serious research, you see that a lot of people find it difficult to stick to the things that they are told. For instance, net is being shared almost every year. But some people will still come up with the idea that they can't sleep under the net. I don't know if you understand that. And now, we also mentioned something about poor, being associated with the poor. You notice that another way you can actually prevent this, and some of the things that people have been advised to do, like to have well-screened door, fleet their place. You see that some of these people, because it's somebody who has eaten that will go and buy insecticide. I mean, some of this insecticide, they can sell for as high as
quite expensive, yes.
And then you now see that the problem is not the initiative. The problem is people not sticking to it, especially those in these areas we have mentioned. You see that some of them feel like, nah, God, they save us. You get that kind of thing. That is, I think, in my own opinion, that is the reason why it's as if some of these initiatives are failing. But I think we still need to do more. Thank you very much.
Yes, because you're talking about equitable distribution, getting to everyone, both the people in the rural or hard-to-reach areas in our communities, because most time there are people there. Even if, I have seen someone that told me that he has this net, but he doesn't even know how to use it. He doesn't have a bed or where to tie it inside his room. So that most times he just uses it to cover himself, the body, and it will be itchy in yes and all that. So most times they don't even know how to use it. They have it in their homes, but using it is a problem. And then of course, we are in a very hot weather now, so people will tell you that they sweat a lot whenever they sleep under the net. Now, okay, we've talked about that. That's a government's own intervention, sharing this net and all that. What other things have we done since we started commemorating this day? Have we done to see that we reduce the surge of malaria in our society?
Okay, so thank you. Over the years, there has been a lot of, interventions, let me put it that way. And coming to the issue of before you answer that question, let me come to the issue of the incidence.
Okay.
The prevalence. It's not actually as it's increasing. It's just that, more of perception. Because if I take an analysis of the trend of malaria, since probably we started the survey, we have two surveys. We have the National Malaria Indicator Survey. We have the one we call the National Demographic Health Survey. Those two surveys. So since we started doing it to the inception, I think the first time we did it around 2003, Nigeria was at 40-something% prevalence, national prevalence. Over the years it has been declining, and the last one that came out 2021 had Nigeria as 22%. But the bit that is made, when you talk about 22%, that's national. But if you come to a state like Kebbi, for instance, which has the highest incidence, Kebbi has about 60%. While we have states like Lagos having as low as 2%. So that's why we're still talking about equity. Then coming to your question, about the interventions. A lot of interventions have gone into eradicating malaria or even controlling malaria. We talked about the nets. That's just one aspect. We call it vector control, where we just target the adult mosquito, basically. In 2016, there was what we call indoor residual spraying in Anambra State, sponsored by the federal government, which took place in Umbako. It was a pilot study. And then we also have, let me move away from vector control. We also have what we call case management, where hospitals are supplied with drugs, government hospitals are supplied with ACTs and RDTs for doing tests, and then ACTs for treatment. There was a time in this state where it was free, no longer free now. There was a time it was free, but even at that, if you come to any government hospital now, through the primary care development agency and all that, they all supply these drugs. If you have malaria, you are treated. Again, under the Anambra State Health Insurance Agency, ASHIA, malaria is also one of the packages, where if you have insurance, you get the treatment free. And that's talking about health financing now. So when you also go to pregnant women, pregnant women are supposed to, when you are pregnant, at a particular time in your pregnancy, when you come for your first antenatal visit, you are placed on a preventive drug, called sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. That drug is supposed to take it a month apart, till birth. What that drug does is to, make sure that you don't get malaria. It's a preventive drug and all that. So I can go on and on. There's so many interventions going on. We also have one called larvicidin, which actually not taking place in Anambra, but which we want to start soon, where we target the mosquito larva. We go to breeding sites and then pour in larvicides, which kills the larva. Then, apart from that, there are also this advocacy we are doing now, because World Malaria Day, what is actually the main focus is advocacy.
Yes.
Let people have the knowledge, at least, because knowledge is power. Once you have knowledge, why part of the reason why the score seems to be more in the poorer percentile is that the richer people usually have, apart from the fact that they have the infrastructure, some of them also have the knowledge on what to do to prevent. They know that when they have fever, they should go for testing. They know that how to use their nets and why they should use it and how they should use it, and so on and so forth. So these are all combined efforts.
All right.
Aimed at reducing malaria. The squad is still there. There's still much to be done, but at least there's some progress has been made.
All right, let's come back to you, Joseph. I know that in 2023, WHO recommended a particular vaccine, malaria vaccine. They called it R21 matrix or something, yes? So now, how has the journey been with the vaccine? Because I would be, if you ask me, I would have said that by now we shouldn't be talking about malaria if everyone has been vaccinated. Now, what's your take on this vaccine that was recommended by WHO in October 2023?
Well, when it comes to the vaccine, I think it has been a very effective one. Okay. But like he said when he was talking, sometimes when you do your analysis, you don't just go to one portion, and because you see that this thing is so prevalent there, and then you just conclude that 90% you get. So far, it has been a very effective vaccine. It has been very effective because if you listen to what he said earlier, I like to make reference because he has made some points that would help in this conversation. Because if you check the statistics, like he said, you see that it has always been dropping. And it is because of some of these things that have been done that we have it always dropping. And if you ask me, I think it's very effective.
Okay, now, talking about vaccine, is it meant for a just particular set of people? And for how long is it going to protect anyone that takes it? Is it for a lifetime or a period of like 2 years, 3 years? And is it for just children or adults or elderly ones? Pregnant women, are they safe to take the vaccine?
Okay, so thank you for the question. The vaccine is actually an innovation, a new, even though it has been in the, how will I say, in the works for some years now, that people have been in the lab trying to develop it.
Yes.
We had some issues, go back, went to clinical trials. Actually, the clinical trial was concluded, I think a year ago, about 2 years ago, and the WHO last year certified the vaccine to be fit for use, for human use. So we have the RTSS, then we have the one just mentioned, R21 matrix. And as last time I checked, I know that NAFDAC was trying to see how they can do the processes to certify it and then bring it into the country. But coming to the indications, the R21 matrix or even the RTSS, but the one that they are going to bring in is R21 matrix, is actually, the vaccine has limitations in terms of where it can be used, who it can be used for. So right now, it can only be used for children, aged under 5. That's the particular one we have now, for children under age of 5. And they need to take it within the space of 6 months. So within that 6 months, the child is protected. So for now, that is how the vaccine is being used. And I think the Federal Ministry of Health has actually concluded talks with WHO. And I think right now there's the pre-qualification is ongoing, and very soon it will be concluded, and very soon the vaccine will be introduced into the routine immunization that you take your child to the hospital to get the vaccine. Yeah, but I can't be specific on when. But
okay.
Very soon it will be
just for children.
Just for children.
What about adults? What about people like us?
I wouldn't know why. More research is going on, but actually from our statistics, if you check the number of malaria deaths, even for the last one, you know that more children.
Children, yes.
Children have the more of that percentage of deaths than adults. So that is probably that's why they consider there first. probably then later on they can.
And why is that so? Why is it that children die more? Okay, it's not strong enough to restrict. Yeah. Okay. Immune system.
That's
Okay.
why, before you reach by under 5, the child's immune system has not fully developed. You know, but unlike adults, you can have the malaria, your immune system is fighting it. You can be going around, people won't know you are asymptomatic.
Yes.
But for a child of that age, it can just easily kill the child if you don't intervene.
But then
an adult, you also have memory. Once you suffer from malaria, any disease, naturally, your body keeps a memory of it. So if you suffer from a disease, let's use malaria as a case study. Whenever you suffer from malaria, your body tends to keep a memory of it, such that whenever malaria comes back to your body, the fight is easier for your body immune system.
Okay.
And that's why you see some people initially when they suffer from malaria, the first few years, like those back years, it used to be something else. But these days you see people, they'll tell you they are very down with malaria, but it's going to work. Because his body has now found a way to also adjust. Just like we know that the body will always find a way to meet up to a problem. So that is part of the reason why in children they don't have this memory. So it's strictly foreign. Like the body doesn't understand this particular thing. So that is why it leads to death most times for children.
All right, talking about an adult that always have, these symptoms, malaria and all that, you see them, they will just take analgesic and be on their way, they are going to work. And to me, you say that it's accumulating. Now, what will happen to an adult if you leave this sickness untreated, unattended to, and it keeps accumulating? Because I remember there was a time when I went for a test. They now, after the diagnosis, they said I have malaria plus. I don't know how many pluses I saw there. I was scared. They had to even place me on the injection, not just the drug. So I want to know what will happen to someone if you just leave yourself and you feel that, well, it's just malaria, I can handle it, it will just fade away. Just like we say, you maybe take analgesic and be on your way to work, and at the end of the day, it's just compounding. Can it lead to death?
Yeah, so thank you. It's actually a very, very important question. People need to understand this because, malaria affects you. There's 2 stages of infection. Let me just put it that way. It's a layman's term. 2 stages, right? There's the first stage, the uncomplicated stage, and the severe stage. Okay. So most of the time in children, it can take within a few hours for a child to move from that uncomplicated to severe.
Okay.
As you're looking at a child, the child is moving from that one stage to the other. So when you are at the uncomplicated stage, usually have the classical symptoms. You start having headache, you start having fever. Usually fever is usually the first thing you notice. Then as it progresses, you may start feeling that your body is vibrating. We call it rigor. You may start having this malaise, feeling of sickness. You are feeling dizzy. You are just feeling down. The normal classical place of malaria. It may even come with a little cough and all that. So
we have blisters on their mouth.
That's what we call the uncomplicated stage. Then by the time it progresses, for adults, because of our immune system, the immune system gives us a form of endurance.
Yes.
So that endurance helps you to have it for some time. That doesn't mean that it won't eventually move to the severe stage, but it buys you some time, probably for you to say, okay, let me drive myself to the hospital.
The hospital, yes.
But if you are not doing hard man and say, okay, let me not treat myself. Even for not just for a child, even for an adult, it can quickly move from from uncomplicated to severe. And that severe usually comes with very serious side effects, serious symptoms. One, you may have the person vomiting. That's a stage where the person starts vomiting. The person starts fainting. The person has serious anemia. By anemia, the person has lost a lot of blood. And then you can even have, that's what we call cerebral malaria. At that point, things start going to the brain cells and affect it. There are so many. You have a liver failure. In fact, by the time you get to the severe stage, all your organs start shutting down one by one. Yeah. Your liver shuts down, kidney shuts down. Usually, because at that stage, the plasmodium, that's the organism that causes malaria. That's what the mosquito injects in you. Yes. By that time, they have multiplied to an extent that they've gone to start attacking. Because what they do, they usually attack your red blood cells. That's the first thing they attack. That's why within a short time, you have serious anemia. Your level of your blood goes down. At that point, even as an adult, they will need to carry you and hospitalize you.
Yes.
So that's just the difference in adult and children is that the quickness or the period between the progression from low complete to severe usually more delayed in adults. But for a child, like I said, within a few minutes or an hour, the child has. So if you don't take the child to, so that is just the difference. But if that is kills, it does kill. But most of the time, what happens is that at that stage, there's this issue of self-medication. At that stage, the person, when you now get to that stage, the person most of us will go to a pharmacy, go and get a malaria drug, and once you take an ACT, you're okay, whether it's malaria or not. But the right thing is to do, not that you shouldn't go to a pharmacy or anywhere. Just go to a health facility, pharmacy, hospital, health center, get tested. Once they test you, they must see malaria, the parasite, and they give you the ACT. And good thing, the ACT is very fast in wiping out the parasite in the blood. Within a few hours, you start feeling better. But please try and complete it. Most people after taking it, the first dose and they're okay, they don't complete it.
They don't complete it, they just abuse it. That's drug abuse if you ask me, yeah?
One of the leading cause of resistance.
Yes, okay.
One of the major leading cause of resistance. So people will just say, I'm okay now.
And then they will leave the rest.
Then the parasite begins to now say, okay, this is what you use. Okay, I find my way. And then before you know it, we start talking about resistance, which is now a major global problem when it comes to dealing with malaria.
Okay, when we come back after this break, we still talk about the ACT, these drugs you can actually go and get from your pharmacy to treat malaria. I mean, the prices are no longer funny. It's very high now, and so a lot of people have, decided to go the other route, the traditional way to boil all those roots and the leaves. We'll talk about that after this short break. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll still continue with our discussion right here on ABS TV.
We can prevent malaria in our society like cleaning the gutter, number one, making sure that your environments are well scrubbed and cleaned, cutting every bush around your surroundings, and make sure that every sockaway is well sealed, and make sure that even inside the kitchen you kept everything neat so that it will not breed malaria, and you prevent anything that will make water to last longer than maybe 24 hours in order to prevent breeding the little mosquito up.
They say that cleanliness is next to godliness. If you watch our environment are dirty. Sometimes government force us to be clean. You will see somebody having a shop along the road or close to gutter. Government will be forcing the person to come out to clean the gutter. And all these things are generating mosquitoes. Nothing generates mosquito than dirtiness, especially gutter. Or you are living in a house where there's bush or where there's grasses. Instead of you weeding all the grasses, cleaning this particular environment, naturally the mosquito will just go. Now, when we know the importance of net, making use of net, then you see that malaria will reduce.
Preventing, there's no matter the measure you use to prevent malaria, malaria will always be. But the best thing as an individual to use to prevent malaria from affecting you is you eat well, stay clean. Once your environment is hygienic and you eat well, you rest well, no matter the environment or whatever, malaria is not for you.
Malaria can be prevented through several means. One, you could use insecticides to treat malaria. Also, if you also know the life cycle of malaria, it begins with the environment. The environment, waterlogged areas, if they lay eggs on those waterlogged areas, especially stagnant waters. So at stagnant waters, they now lay their eggs. From there, they breed. So allowing the environment, stagnant water and the environment, the gutters, they should be free-flowing, and making sure that these stagnant waters are off the environment. This will go a long way in preventing malaria.
Come back to the show. From what we have heard from our respondents, they are talking about ways to prevent malaria, keeping our surroundings clean to make sure that mosquitoes don't breed there, sleeping in a insecticide treated nets, and so many of the things. We'll still get back to the preventive measures. But I want us to talk about the counter drugs, over-the-counter drugs that we go out there to get, the ACT. We have a whole lot of them. But sometimes people will argue with you that they have taken the prescribed dose for this thing and still they have malaria. Some will tell you that after doing, they still run a test and it's still there. We talked about resistance. Does it mean that these people, they are now resistant to malaria drugs, or that there are people that this drug doesn't work for, they really need to maybe take injection or any other thing to stall the progress of the disease?
Okay, so thank you. Usually, when you require injection is when the malaria has progressed to the severe
stage.
You know, even up to when we were using chloroquine, it was the same. But if it's just a normal, uncomplicated stage, you could take oral. You know, so that's for that. Then for your question about, sorry, your question again.
Talking about the drugs, some people will take after the dosage recommended for them, it still won't work for them.
Okay, now so as far as we know, even last year we even carried out a therapeutic efficacy study. As long as we know, and as long as the world body knows, all over the world, the ACTs are still very effective in wiping out the malaria parasite from the blood system. It has been tested and all that. So, and I'll call the one we usually use, the common one you see in any pharmacy or hospital. We have the one we call artemether lumefantrine. It has different names. I don't want to call the names here.
Yeah.
Then we also have the one we call artesunate and that's another one. And then there are other ones, the hydroartemisinin and piperaquine. I don't want to start calling them, but these are three common ones you see, And then for the injection, usually that's what we call artesunate injection. So those are the ones. And once you use these ones to treat yourself, unless you don't have malaria, because because in Nigeria, let me say in Nigeria because that's one we are used to self-medication, When you feel like your body is not feeling fine, you have slight fever, you go to open your cupboard and get malaria drug and take. But one thing we forget to, most of us forget is that there are over 100 diseases that can cause fever. A lot of them, I don't want to start mentioning, a lot. Once there's anything that is wrong with your body, one of the first ways the body reminds you that something is wrong with your body is your temperature is elevated. So it's not only for malaria. So a lot of people probably the person doesn't have malaria and takes it and feels why we advise against self-medication is that is one of the greatest causes of resistance. When you keep on piling your body with anti-malarials, there's no parasites in your blood. What you're trying to do, your body is building resistance, so that when they have it again, when the parasite is building resistance, when it comes again, you may either need a higher dose to cure it, or the drug may not even work again.
Or could it be as a result of adulteration?
Okay, I'm also coming to that. That's also another important point. I'm glad you mentioned it. Yes, it could also be because of adulteration, and that's why we enjoy NAFDAC. Not that they're not doing a lot of work, but they should, intensify their campaign to ensure. And not just that, we should also look at our drug distribution channels, for how we get these drugs from. A lot of charlatans are in the system trying to bring in drugs illegally and all that, selling it. But of course, there's no way that if you buy from a pharmacy, it won't be because the pharmacy don't want to sell, or a doctor will not want to prescribe something that is not, or a hospital will have a mark behind us. We don't want to stock a product that is not effective. But the problem we have is that if you go to the market, Anambra has one of the biggest drug markets in the country. If you go to the market, you see thousands of brands. A lot of them, there, lying down there. So, and I assure you that if we take it to the lab, quality control lab, and test the efficacy, you will see that efficacy may range from, the common one we know is Coartem, which is the flagship, from 99% efficacy to down to about 20% efficacy. And these are all products that have the name, attenuated lumefantrine, they are claiming they have the content. But when you now run them through the lab, you notice that the content of the drug is actually less than 20%. So yes, adulteration is one of also the major causes of not just treatment failure, but of resistance.
Okay, Joseph, what other challenges do you think we have faced as a country, as a continent, in our fight to eliminate malaria?
Well, if you ask me, I feel that some of the challenges also we are having is the fact that this self-medication, I think, is the major challenge we're facing, apart from the adulteration by many. Self-medication is one of the biggest challenges we're having because a lot of people, there are very few people who go for tests. I mean, some people now, they just fall sick and go and get drugs. And like he said, there are many other sicknesses that can bring about extreme temperatures. I'm using the word extreme temperature because it could be high temperature or low temperature. But so many people don't go for tests. And the truth is, this testing is now cheap. People could now use the strip to determine these things. So we are saying that people should do their best whenever they feel sick to try and do testing because it will help a lot. I think that's our major challenge in this country. Many people feel the money they have is for treatment straight up. That testing is a waste of
time and finance. Okay. I've been wondering, and I wanted to ask this question: why is it that malaria and the typhoid always go hand in hand? Because most times when you are sick, you go to like we mentioned self-medication and all that. You might go to a pharmacist and you tell the person that you are having fever, headache, all those symptoms. He will add
Salmonella typhi is actually a bacteria. So they are not. These are different. But I think, in my own opinion, what I think is that it's usually from our sanitary system, the way we, in the country. I don't know. In Oka, for instance, I don't think there's anywhere there's any pipeline water anywhere. Unlike those days we used to have in Anambra, we used to have. If you open your tap, you see pump running. You start hearing the water doing one kind of sound, as if there's soda inside. Actually the water is treated before it's sent. So, I usually think it has to do with, because typhoid usually comes from the way either you eat something that is not, a vegetable that is not well
contaminated,
washed, or you drink water that is not very clean. Even some of these things you see as pure water, they are carrying about.
I don't like people calling it pure water. It's sachet water, because most times when you just look at it, you know that it's not pure. So just call it sachet water.
Exactly. So I think it has to do with our sanitary condition. These days, wherever we see, I see people, whatever they see water, anything they see, they take. If you go to a restaurant now, they serve you food. What about water they serve you? You take it. Whether it's bottled water. So most of those things are not. It still goes down to the standards of what we consume.
Okay.
Food, it goes down to food safety. What's the safety of this thing? So because typhoid is preparing in water and dirty food. So so most times when you come back with fever, it's likely that when you test the person's system, you likely see typhoid.
Okay.
Salmonella typhi. So to some extent, maybe you see plus, like you call it plus, 2 plus or 3 plus.
We don't know. It's plus that we see on the paper.
The reason is just that it's endemic in our environment.
Okay.
So when you tell the person, if you see this one, you must see the other.
And to add to what he has said, if you notice, from what we described earlier, you know that malaria affects the red blood cell. Now, Salmonella typhi can be present in the blood system, but because it has not gotten to the threshold where it affects, whenever you're now down with malaria, it's now affecting the red blood cells and then making your body to be compromised. And once your body is compromised, every other thing begins to grow, things that are not necessary, especially like the bacteria we talked about. So that's why most times when you go for testing, it feels as if every time there's malaria, there's typhoid. I don't know if you understand.
Yes, I get it.
Once your immune system is compromised by a particular ailment, say malaria that destroys your red blood cells and the rest of it, you notice that every other thing begins to skyrocket. You get so that's
okay. Another thing I want to ask, and also, people with a particular genotype will always come out and tell you that if you're AA, that you are prone to have malaria every month. And I know that when you are AA, if you ask me, I'll say you are blessed because you can get married to someone that is AS or even SS. But then saying that someone with a particular genotype is prone to have a particular ailment often, does that make sense? Is there any relationship? Or we just make all this thing up and talk about it?
Thank you. I actually get that question a lot, and from related to research I've done, I even ask people that I know that experts. But the truth of the matter is that there's still no proven, how will I put it, way to.
The AA, that very conducive nature of that blood tend to support merozoites. Merozoites are those after the plasmodium has gone in, those you get. It tends to support their feeding whatever it is, whatever they feed on, you get. And because of that AA, the AA imports, the good nature of that blood, it's a very suitable feed, and that's why it's looking as if those with AA suffer from malaria a lot. Unlike, just like saying that this thing is, some people prefer some food than others. So that is some of the research. Some people would say, oh, this is what they think, but it has not been proven, like he said.
All right. As we're rounding up, let's talk about the preventive measures, because that is very important. That's in so let's talk about preventive measures, because people we interviewed, our respondents on the street, they made a whole lot of points when it comes to what we need to do to make sure that malaria wouldn't be infecting us often, so to say. So let's start with you, Nelson.
Okay, thank you. Prevention is very important when we talk about malaria control. A lot of the countries that have been clear, the mosquito will go there and lay eggs. Again, like I mentioned about the poor and the rich, one of the reasons why you have the poor areas, malaria spreading, like in slums, is that, when you come to slums, unlike in rich areas, where you have gutters, you won't see a single mosquito, there's no water. When you come to some areas, for instance, let me use Ogo, for instance, even though the governor is doing something there.
Yes.
But you have a lot of gutters, a lot of place, there's a large population density there. You have a lot of people going in those places because you have a lot of stagnant water. You have mechanics around, pushing tires around. I know when you have those tires, when it rains, water tends to gather there, and then those are the perfect places for the animals to lay eggs. You have cans of water, you have people who have butters, open. So the first thing we need to do is to manage the environment very well. Remove your stagnant water around you. If you have a butter, fine. Nobody says you shouldn't have butter, but make sure you cover it. Even inside your bathroom, make sure it's covered. Because they can just enter there and start laying their eggs before you know it.
Inside the water?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's where they like laying eggs. Once they see any water that is, the reason is that when the water is moving, if you lay egg there, the water will carry it.
Okay.
So they like that water that is there, stagnant. They just lay their eggs, and before you know it, the larva goes to paper and comes out. So that's the very first thing. That's one. You don't have to wait for government to do that one for you. You can do that one. Then another preventive method, we've mentioned it time and time again. Sleep inside your insecticide-treated net. Many people find that difficult to do, especially in this environment. So try and sleep. The heat is not an issue because thank God now we're in rainy season. Just try and open your windows, let the air be circulating, and put your net and sleep. Nothing going to happen to you.
Okay.
So that is just the two. Maybe I'll leave my colleague to.
Okay. Joseph.
Okay, first to add to the environmental or whatever, there's something people need to know. This Anopheles, particularly, it's not like the coolest signs that breathe in dirty waters. So some people can have water opened in their kitchen. Some people can, even these toilet sitters that is being flushed and then, they clean, those are all sites, breeding sites. So once, of course, the female Anopheles takes blood meal and is ready to lay egg, it looks for any clean water, as common as leaving a cup of water with clean water inside, leaving it for days. Some people can be that careless, actually. Now, leaving any clean water around without being covered is out of it, because whenever you do that, you give them a breeding site. And once they are breeding, I mean, you know that we have, the cases to come up. And then he also talked about the use of mosquito net. Now, some people find that difficult. Some people will even, I met during one of those our field work, a woman said that, she said it in Igbo, that whenever she sleeps under the mosquito net, that she feels as if she's gasping for air.
Yeah.
You understand? Others will tell you that it causes a reaction to their skin. You get. So we should encourage people to sleep under the mosquito net. And again, there are some repellents. Like back in the days when we were still in secondary school, they have these repellents they use for those who were, because of course we were not controlling the malaria, the level of mosquitoes around us then. So they used some of these cream that are repelling to mosquitoes. And another one is indoor residual sprays. We could use these things. These are all ways to prevent the parasite from even getting to us in the first place.
All right, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for coming to our show this morning, enlightening us about this disease called malaria, as we are commemorating, joining everyone all over the world to celebrate today, creating awareness about malaria. I know it's the most common disease around us now, because anybody you ask, you tell you I have malaria, I'm down with malaria and all that, even when it's not malaria. Sometimes I pity that ailment, because even when it's not malaria, people will tell you I have malaria. But you've heard from the people we have in the studio this morning that prevention is better than care. If you have that, even if you don't have one, you need to go to your health centers. It's being shared on a daily basis. You can go there and get one and try as much as possible to sleep under it. Don't tell us that the weather is too hot. The money for you to go out to the clinic or buy those drugs is quite expensive, so it's better that you prevent it from even coming your way or the way of your children and your loved ones. Thank you so much, Nonso Ndibe, Anambra State Malaria Control Officer. Thank you for being here this morning. And also you, Joseph Ugochukwu Obidigwe, parasitologist and entomologist. You're also the branch communication officer, Nigerian Red Cross Society, Anambra State branch. Thank you so much for being here. Well, my name is Chidimma Oranwa. Thank you so much for joining us on today's show. We'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.